Hey, how's it going, guys? I saw Indiana Jones just now. I just came back from watching Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. That movie's getting way too much hate. It's not an amazing movie, but it's a good movie. It's nowhere near as good as Indiana Jones 1, 2, and 3. I don't remember Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I saw that movie one time, and I really don't remember too much about it. All I remember is that I didn't care for the whole alien thing. But Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, it had some moments where I was like, whoa, I don't see this in a lot of these modern franchise movies. And then there were also things where I thought I would dislike a lot, but it didn't bother me as much. Even though everything that I didn't like was there, it wasn't as bad as, okay, let's wait, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to start off with the negatives, go into the positives? Let me talk about the opening sequence. I'll jump into the main thing that I thought was negative about it, and then we'll continue on with whatever. So the opening sequence, we see a young Indiana Jones, okay? And we got a whole lot more of this deepfake, this young Indiana Jones deepfake, a whole lot more of this than any movie that I've seen, okay? We saw this deepfake in Star Wars. We saw this in a bunch of other movies, right, where they bring these characters back for like a scene or so. But this was a long sequence, okay? This was Indiana Jones stealing the what did they call it? The lance of Christ or something like that. It was, the spear that pierced the side of Christ while he was on the cross, right? Turns out that was a fake. And they stumble across the Dial of Destiny, okay? I personally thought that sequence was drawn out. It was too long, okay? I'm getting into the negatives of the scene. But, and also Indiana Jones. In actuality, he's an old guy, right? And you saw that in the deepfake. You saw the wrinkles. You saw the sagging of the face. Much later, there was another scene with the deepfake that was sort of in between, not really old, not really young, and that worked better. It was in the house of Baz. I think that's the guy's name, Baz. It was in his house. That scene looked a lot better. But let's go back. That opening sequence. Here are the good things, and this was a good thing about the rest of the movie. The music. John Williams came back to do the soundtrack, and even though I knew John Williams was going to come back, I still didn't have much hope, because as far as I remember, he did the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, and that soundtrack fell flat to me. It didn't capture the magic of Star Wars. This movie, it felt like the classic Indiana Jones soundtrack, but with a modern flavor. And I think that modern flavor was just from the way the music was recorded and produced. Okay, like the themes were there. That's one thing I really disliked about Star Wars. How they used the Force theme. They used the Force theme and they tried to make it this grand, epic theme when that's not how the theme is supposed to be used. They used the themes the way they're intended to be used in this movie. So I like that. In the trailer, I don't remember. In the trailer of this movie, they took the Indiana Jones theme and they blew it up and they made it like this epic, like how they do on all these movies. They make things way too epic, way too big, way too grand, in your face, They make things way too big when they don't need to be too big. I don't remember that. The music that they used in that first trailer, I don't remember that in the movie. They used the flutes nicely. When you first hear the Indiana Jones theme, from what I remember, it's that whimsical Indiana Jones theme with the flutes, and what I'm trying to say is that they used the theme the way it should be used. They didn't try to overdo it and make it more epic than it needs to be, and so that kept the spirit of Indiana Jones there. And the music of a movie really carries the tone. It brings the tone. It brings the spirit of the whole world, the character, and everything. So that was really good to see. The other thing was the color grading. The color grading had this warm tone, and you don't see that in a lot of these movies nowadays. The one thing that pulled away from that classic kind of vibe was the CG. There was a lot of it. There was a lot of obvious green screen. I don't know if they used the volume or if it was green screen. Whatever it was obvious. that sort of took away from the immersion a bit. With these older movies, everything felt real, you know, because it looked real, because it was real, it was practical, you know. And a lot of these movies nowadays, you know, it's CG and everything that comes with that, the cooler color grading, that whole vibe. This movie took care of some of that with the warmer color grading and even some of the camera work, the cinematography. It felt... the way the characters were introduced at the beginning of the movie, I was like, whoa, this really reminds me of Jurassic Park, like a Steven Spielberg movie, you know? And that's good. That's what I want to see. So I'm glad that we got some classic vibes from this movie, some old school movie, you know, Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, all those, you know, those older movies. We got some of that in this. One thing was Indiana Jones' voice when with the deepfake in that first sequence, right? That really prolonged train sequence. They could have cut that sequence. His voice is old, you know? It sounded old and it didn't match what he looked like, you know? So that was one thing. But all in all, that was a pleasant surprise. I didn't think that they would be able to capture any of that original magic at all. And they did. They did a little bit of that. Then we jump into the future and... dude, Harrison Ford is ripped, dude. How old is he? He's like in his 70s, right? He has abs and everything. So we get reintroduced to the character of Indiana Jones. He's this grumpy old man. He's been working as a professor for so long. He gets an award for, you know, working there for so long, and he's retiring. He doesn't care about the reward. He doesn't care about the award. So you clearly see he's not living in the present. This was the first time we saw Indiana Jones' house, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we saw his dad's house before. But okay, so it's clear that Indiana Jones is not living for the present. He's not living for the future. His mind and his heart is in the past. And that's made evident by the end of the movie, but we'll get into that. So we get introduced to Indiana Jones. You know, he's back at school, and we meet his goddaughter, Wombat, aka Helena. When we're first introduced to her, I didn't have a problem. Okay, you know, she was being nice because we learned that she wanted to get the dial. That's all she wanted, right? But dude, this character, this is what I was talking about when I said there was something about this movie that didn't bother me as much as I thought it would, because it literally ticks all the marks that I don't like. But for some reason, it wasn't as bad as I expected. Expected meaning, as I was watching the movie, seeing these traits in the character, Helena Wombat, I was expecting to be more annoyed, but I wasn't. For some reason, I don't know why. But I mean, that's a good thing. So here's why this character was annoying. She was a jerk, immature, self-centered, and she was annoying. She literally said, I only got part of the quote, but she called herself beautiful, daring, and self-sufficient. And she's like, who compliments themselves? Calm down, lady. Your ego is way too big. She can't think past herself. And we see this multiple times. And it gets to the point where Indy has to correct her. They were trying to create a female Indiana Jones, this quick-witted, you know, sly, you know, doesn't take things too seriously, you know, has the jokes, but it didn't come off right. She just came off as a bit too rude, inconsiderate, you know? There was a scene where she was asking Indy, what would you do? You know, where, if you could use the dial to go back in time, what would you do? And he says he'd go back to tell his son to not enlist. She had this smile on her face, and she's like, "Oh, so what would you say?" And he pretty much tells his whole story about how his son died. And as soon as he says that, her smile fades, and he tells the story of how his son died, how it hurt him, it hurt his wife, their marriage broke up. And my thing is, obviously, as soon as he says, I would tell my son not to enlist, obviously you would assume that something bad happened. He's going back in time to change the fact that to tell his son not to enlist. Obviously, he died or something happened bad, you know? So the fact that she asked with a smile on her face and then it faded, which means that she didn't realize prior to asking. Then, after Indy told the story and then he walked off, she yells out, "Hey, but you're still wearing the ring." Like, how, dude, why are you inconsiderate? Obviously, he didn't want the marriage to end. which is why he was still wearing the ring. He's holding on to the woman that he loves. Like, she can't think past herself. There's multiple scenes in the movie where she can't think past herself, that she's being immature. She's like a kid. And another scene was they were on the boat blew up, and they made their escape. But prior to that, the Nazis shot Antonio Banderas, Indiana Jones' friend. And Helena's busy celebrating with the little boy. You know, they escaped. They got the artifact and everything. And Indy was like, my friend just died. She can't think past herself. She's not empathetic. And that just got annoying, you know? So there were a lot of qualities I didn't like about her, but it didn't annoy me as much as I thought it would annoy me for some reason. I'm not sure why. The other thing is she doesn't care about... I mean, I guess she knows history, but she doesn't care about these artifacts. And if she cared about history, she would care about the artifacts, protecting them and making sure they're in the right hands, like Indiana Jones, right? But she doesn't care. She's all in it for the money. She gets these art because when she started auctioning off the dial that she struggled to get, why? Why are you auctioning the dial off? Why are you chasing after these artifacts just to auction it off, right? So basically, they're thieves and they're just getting these artifacts to sell money. If money is your end goal, why are you running after these artifacts? Why are you studying history? Why are you learning all these things? And, you know, why? Just go make money another way. Go steal some other thing. You know what I mean? Indy actually brought it up, and he's like, you know, if you're all in it for the money, why are you memorizing 7 books worth of information that your dad's notes? But they don't really talk about it after that. So I don't know. My last complaint about this character, this is the last one. She's a bit condescending. She's patronizing in the way she talks. She talks down to people. So I don't know what they were doing. Were they trying to write the most annoying character? You introduce her in a somewhat positive way, you know. Then you say, hey, she was actually lying, you know. She was just acting that way to get what she wanted. And then all these bad qualities. She's egotistical. She's condescending. She's annoying. She's immature. She's not empathetic. She can't think past herself. For some reason, it didn't annoy me as much. I don't know why. I don't know why. Maybe because we've seen so many of these annoying characters, and I'm just immune to it by now. So the big twist in this movie is the Nazi guy, I forgot his name. He was trying to go back in time, right? He wanted to win World War II, and he was willing to kill Hitler in order to do that. Right? He just wanted to win. But what they ended up doing is they ended up going back 2,000 years to prior to Archimedes even creating the Dial of Destiny. He was still in the process of creating it, and that is how, you know, he saw the planes, and which is why he created, you know, which is why it was carved on his tomb, the eagle with the propellers and all that stuff. That was cool. That was really cool. And Indy, like I said, remember, his heart is in the past. So he didn't want to go back to the future. He wanted to stay in the past. Because imagine, like, this is literally a Jurassic Park moment. He is seeing the dinosaurs in real life now. You know what I mean? He's back 2,000 years ago in the middle of this war. And he's witnessing history. So he doesn't want to leave. And what does he have to go back to? You know, his son is dead. His wife and him are not together anymore. So he wants to stay. Then again, Helena, the person who can't think past herself because she doesn't want to lose, and punches him in the face and brings him back to the future. And so he wakes up and he's like, what am I here to live for? You know, what's the point? You should have left me back in the past, you know? And I personally was like, this is Indiana Jones movie. This is an Indiana Jones movie, you know? Let him get his win. If he wanted to stay back in the past, let him stay back in the past. But it ended fine. It ended fine. I think that train of thought probably stemmed from the fact that I was a little annoyed with Helena. But luckily, it ended fine. Indy, you know, his wife was there. I forgot her name. But they did do a throwback to the older... I forgot which... I also forgot which Indiana Jones movie it was. But you know what? He was sitting back and he was like, it hurts. And she was like, where? It hurts here. And then she kissed him there. It hurts here. Kissed him there. Hurts here. And then it hurts here on the lips. And they kiss. But in this movie, they're like, it hurts everywhere. And so she's like, where doesn't it hurt? He's like, where doesn't it hurt? And then she points. And so he kisses this time around. So that was nice. That was nice to see. I'm realizing that this review has been pretty much me talking about how I really don't like Helena. I guess you could take that as a positive because I don't really have any other negative to say or any other big negative to say. I mean, there's a little things like Indiana Jones singing in the cave along with Helena. Like he wouldn't have done that, you know? He would have just let Helena make the noises and tell her to stop when the time was right, you know? That was a little out of character. But overall, it felt like a modern Indiana Jones movie, okay? Like it's so much better than the sequel trilogy. Sequel trilogy didn't feel like Star Wars. This at least feels like an Indiana Jones movie. It's not as good as 1, 2, and 3, but I guess having the Nazis there made it feel like Indiana Jones. Having the soundtrack that was well done made it feel like Indiana Jones. It was produced in a modern way, so it didn't have that flavor of the old school, that magic. And then again, also it was filmed digitally. When you know movies that are like filmed on film versus digital, like there's a magic to when movies were filmed on film, right? And that more warm color grading did help it. But I mean, what can you do? That's just how movies are made nowadays. Overall, the story was nice. I did enjoy it. It did feel like Indy was babysitting for some of the movie, but it was nice. Oh, seeing Sallah back was really cool. His introduction with a punch, and then they pan over to him. That was cool. I wish the music reflected his comeback a little bit. Reflected the punch a little bit. That would have been nice. But overall, I enjoyed the movie. It didn't blow me away. It wasn't the best Indiana Jones movie, but it was a pleasant surprise in that they were actually able to capture some of the things that made Indiana Jones. And a lot of these reboots, these continuation of these old franchises, they don't do that. They miss the ball completely. It also dragged a bit. So if it was a bit shorter, that would have definitely helped the movie. But it had a lot of the elements necessary for an Indiana Jones movie. Indy was acting like Indy, and you don't get that a lot of times these days. Characters are not acting like how they should be acting. But Indy acted like Indy for the most part. We got cameos from older movies, and they were still true to their characters. We got the music that kept the spirit of the older music. So all in all, if you guys are Indiana Jones fans, yeah, I'd recommend you guys go out and watch it. It's not going to blow you away. Remember, it's not better than 1, 2, and 3. It's nowhere close to 1, 2, and 3. But it's not a bad movie. I'm seeing a lot of these other YouTube videos, a lot of these articles saying that this movie is really bad. It's not bad. Like I said, I enjoyed my time watching the movie. So if you guys have seen it, let me know down below in the comment section. If you guys liked it, if you didn't like it, let me know your thoughts, your opinions, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.